Hello, good evening, everyone, and welcome. Or if you're new, welcome back. Or if you're new, just welcome. Um, I am Texas Beach Mom or Mama Robin, whichever you prefer. And this is my Friday Night Live. I don't have a lot set up for tonight. I had a case I wanted to talk to people about because this apparently happened a few years ago, but I do not remember hearing anything about this case. I might have heard the name of the person, um, like kind of in the background of things, but I don't remember this case being that big of a deal, and it should have been. So let me clarify. I think the name of this guy was a teenager. His name is, I think it's Brian Cahey. Hold on. Head in bedroom. See real quick. Yeah, mom finds severed head in bedroom. I don't know. 19-year-old Brian Cohey had accidentally driven his. Do what? Hold on a minute. Oh my God, I can't believe. I don't want the whole video. We don't want to listen to a video. I'm going to find the article on it. We were going to do more on the Lady Bird Lake, but I really don't. Yeah, Brian Cohey Jr. case. No. If I can find it again. I didn't mean to get off on a bad start. Yeah. U.S. teen hides head of homeless man he murdered in the closet to satisfy his fascination with morbid. Cohey attempted to dispose of the remaining body parts by placing them in the trunk of his car and trying to drive the vehicle into the Colorado River. Now, that's how this starts, okay? So if we're following me, that's how this starts. And if anybody's heard about this case and they have information, say something in the comments. Anyway, police arrested Brian Cohey in 2021 after discovering the remains of a 69-year-old Warren Barnes. The incident, which involved then 19-year-old Cohey, sparked a local investigation and is documented in the true crime documentary Parents Discovered Teen, Son's Horrifying Secret. The heinous crime involved Cohey decapitating, dismembering, and mutilating Mr. Barnes' body. Hello, Sprinkle Donut. How are you doing tonight? Are you doing good? I hope everybody's doing good. I don't really have much for tonight. I was going to go into the Lady Bird Lake stuff again, but there's not much I can do with it because it's not getting investigated, and I'm trying to get a hold of a couple journalists and to interview them. I'm doing okay. I just got out of the shower, like literally. But other than that, I'm doing okay. So instead, I'm talking about a case that I think some of us have heard about. I don't remember it. If it happened and I heard about it, I'm not remembering it. But it's a case of Brian Cohey, Cohee. Cohey. He killed a homeless man and decapitated, dismembering, and mutilating Mr. Barnes' body, and then bringing some of the body parts home, where they were discovered by his mother. Like, are you serious? And I'm not laughing at it. I'm not laughing at the death of this man or anything else. What I'm laughing at is he brought the body parts home. And I guess from what I can understand, he put them in his closet. And his mom, Terry, found them. Like I said, this happened in 2000. When did this happen? I think I just read it. 2021. And we're already in 2025. So it's an older case. But I don't remember hearing anything about this. That's what I'm saying. If anybody knows about this case, speak up, say something. The heinous crime involved decapitating, dismembering, mutilating Mr. Barnes' body and bringing some of the body parts home where they were discovered by his mother. So what? She was like just cleaning his room for him or something? Gee, many Christmas. His mother on a 911 call told police that the teen had a fascination with morbid. In addition to the head, Mr. Barnes' hands were also found by Cohee's mother, Terry, decomposing in a separate plastic bag hidden in his wardrobe. Okay, so he had the head in one plastic bag, and he had the hands in another. Jiminy. I think I'm trying to come down with a cold. So I might sound scratchy. Cohee attempted to dispose of the remaining body parts by placing them in the trunk of his car and trying to drive the vehicle into the Colorado River. And if I remember right, this took place in Colorado. The documentary showcased police dash cam footage capturing the moment authorities arrived at the Cohee residence. What brought this to my attention, and I was channel surfing through YouTube as one does, and I subscribed to a person that does body language and stuff analysis person, Dr. G, and he was talking about the video when the police were interviewing at his home, and his body posture was just very open and very kind of, yeah, I did it type attitude. During the police questioning at his home, Cohee was asked, your parents have raised concerns about some items that they may have found in your room. Can you elaborate? Cohee responded calmly, saying, yes, I believe so. A human head and hands. Okay, so the police asked this kid about some concerns his parents have about some stuff they found in his room. And he's like, yeah, I have a human head and hands. From the man who went missing. I killed him with a knife. Now, this was a 19-year-old. When pressed further by the officers about his motives, Cohee had, I always wondered what it would feel like to commit murder. Okay. Later, during a painful recollection in the police interview, Terry remembered the moment she discovered Barnes' severed head. Okay, let's just stop for a minute. Let's just put this in perspective for a minute. The mother apparently was in her son's room, maybe going through his closet looking for something. Maybe she was cleaning. Maybe she could smell something in the house and decided to go check it out. So you're in your child's room, your 19-year-old child's room, boy, but you're in your child's room, and you run across a bag, and it has a severed head in it. Then you run across another bag, and it's got hands in it. The horror, the everything that she must have felt, Later, during a painful recollection in a police interview, Terry remembered the moment she discovered Barnes' severed head in her son's closet. She recounted, I was tidying up his room, putting away things. Yeah, she was cleaning his room. Putting away, and came across a plastic container in his closet. As I started digging through it, I found a plastic bag. Curious, I picked it up, feeling its weight, and noticed it was infested with maggots. Sorry, I apologize. I didn't know that was going to be in there. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I apologize. I took it to the sink, noticing it was double bagged, and opened the first bag and couldn't bring myself to open the second. I immediately called his father and said, "You need to come here right now." Yeah, I can imagine that's how that conversation went. Cohee's parents subsequently dialed 911 to report the horrifying find, even acknowledging the dispatcher that their son had displayed a disturbing fascination with death and mortality. Cohee confessed to using a kitchen knife to end Barnes' life and revealed that he had been contemplating taking someone's life for 6 months beforehand. Oh my God. I'm so sorry. He further disclosed his intent to target a homeless individual or a prostitute, believing that their absence would go unnoticed. So he wanted to kill somebody. That was an idea he had. He decided to see what it was like. So he decided to target a homeless person or a prostitute, believing that nobody would be looking for them. Another part of documentary, Cohee recounted the grisly details of his crime, investigators displaying no signs of emotion or remorse. So while he was being talked to by the police, he was talking about the grisly details and he had no sign of remorse. He said it was a night of February 27th. It was a full moon and I figured I could see. So I figured, well, why not try it out? Wait a minute. Hold on. Hold the phone. Back the truck up. I could see. I'm in a bad state of mind at that time. I have a major depressive disorder. I was driving around and I saw a shape and I'm like, oh, interesting. I'm like, that's a homeless person. So I grabbed my knife, put on 3 layers of gloves because plastic gloves can betray the users. Holy crap. I grabbed the knife. I put on 3 layers of gloves because plastic gloves can betray their users because they are so thin. I took the knife and I pulled back the canvas and I stabbed his neck. This is a 19-year-old boy that's recanting this. At first, he was in a state of panic, asking, "What are you doing and why?" But I just continued stabbing his neck, he recounted to the investigators. He described himself as growling and making animalistic noises as he inflicted the wounds on Barnes. I'm losing my voice, I do believe. Hold on just one second. Oh, a little bit of water. He described himself as growling and making animalistic noises as he inflicted wounds. He then chuckled as he provided nauseating details on how he dismembered the man's body, following by an apologetic remark, "Sorry, that's morbid," directed at the investigators. So while this child is talking, and he's 19, so he's not a child, but he's a kid, lives at home. So while this child is talking to investigators, he chuckled as he provided nauseating details. And then he apologized and said it was morbid. Okay. Cohee appeared to be eager to divulge the grisly specifics of his crime to the investigators, displaying excitement as he recounted the murder and seemed to relish the memory. Despite pleading insanity, Cohee was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole last year, having been found guilty of first-degree murder. Now, I do remember hearing something about this, and I remember hearing something about, and if I'm wrong, if I've misheard or misremembered, I'm wrong. What I think I heard them say was that he was autistic, and because he was autistic, they tried to prove that he was not capable of standing trial because he didn't understand what he did wrong. Apparently, he did know. Like, I'm sitting here and I'm going over this. There's no way this person didn't know what they were doing. I mean, he talks about the he appeared eager to divulge the grisly specifics of the crime to the investigators, displaying excitement as he recounted the murder and seemed to relish the memory. So it's not like this kid did not know what he was doing. He knew what he was doing. Despite pleading insanity, Cohey was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole last year. Yeah, they were trying to prove that he wasn't sane and therefore couldn't stand trial, but they made him stand trial and they found him convicted. They've convicted him of 2 counts of tampering with a dead body and tampering with evidence. Judge Richard Gurley, who presided over the case, described it as one of the most horrific he had ever encountered in his 37-year tenure within the criminal justice system. Okay, then. That was fun. Like I said, I was watching a bit. What brought this to my attention is I was going through YouTube, channel surfing through YouTube, and I was watching Dr. G, who is a behavioral analyst person, and I was watching him analyze the original interview with Brian Cohey and the police. And I was watching this interview and I was listening to what Dr. G was saying, and he was talking about how his stance was a very open stance and kind of like, yeah, I did it. I want to know what it was like, so I did it. I mean, that was his whole thing, is I did it. So that's all I have on that one. But there was a couple other things I was going to cover tonight because all 3 of these are kind of small. That's really all the information I have on that one. And I didn't even, like I said, this happened in 2021. If I heard about it, I don't remember it, but now I won't forget it. So there's a couple other things I discovered today. I was also, while I was channel surfing through YouTube, as one does, I ran across Nancy Grace. She was doing a thing about Stephen Stearns. And the one thing she kept pointing out was something Madeline's mom said. What was her name again? Madeline Soto's mom. Jennifer? Madeline Soto's mom. Who is Madeline Soto's mom? Stephen Stearns, Madeline Soto update. Yeah, Jen Soto. Okay, I thought it was Jennifer. Jen. One of the things that Nancy Grace, I think I'm trying to come down sick. Sorry. Yeah. LaCroix, cran raspberry. It's hard to get me to drink plain water. I mean, I'll drink water all day if it's flavored. If it's like a flavored seltzer water, just flavored water, but it's hard to get me to drink plain water. So I'm a ninny. But anyway, the one thing that she was talking about, the one thing that Jen Soto said in her interview that had Nancy Grace just flipping over in her chair, and I get it now, is Jen Soto made the comment about, and I don't remember the actual quote. So this is like me taking what I heard and then putting it back out there. Basically, what Jen Soto said was first she said she was oblivious to the sex stuff. Said she was completely oblivious, and most people don't buy that. But the second thing she said was, and about the sex stuff, that's one thing. I just didn't want to believe he was doing something evil to my daughter. The sex stuff is evil, hon. I don't know how to explain that to you, but the sex stuff by itself is evil. Another thing she said though that had Nancy Grace flipping over in her chair. I thought that poor woman was just going to fall out of her, just fall out of her chair at this point. Another thing Jen Soto said was she, and this is quotations, she was worried that the relationship with Steven Stern and her daughter would turn into a Woody. Oh, now I can't remember the actor's name. Woody, the one that was with Mia Farrow. Um, who was the actor that was with Mia Farrow? Woody Allen. Thank you. Woody Allen. Yeah, she was talking about it being a Woody Allen type situation. Well, the Woody Allen type situation was where Mia Farrow came home one day and she discovered a bunch of photographs of her daughter. I don't remember if it was her daughter and Woody Allen or just the daughter, but um, she was more worried about it being a Woody Allen type thing where she was afraid her daughter was going to run off with Steven Stearns when she got old enough. And she didn't want Steven Stearns to do that to her. She didn't want Steven Stearns to cheat on her. That was what her biggest problem was. She was more upset about the idea that Steven Stearns cheated on her than she was about her daughter being raped, molested. I don't know. R word, whatever, sexually assaulted. I don't, YouTube confuses me. I want to use the big grown up words that most of us are old enough to handle. That's why my videos are not made for children. But there's, and they keep changing their rules and they keep adding things you can and can't say. I don't know anymore. We know what it is. So that was her biggest concern, was she was more worried about it being a Woody Allen thing that Jennifer would run off, or that Marilyn would run, Madeline would run off. See, I can't get names straight tonight. Madeline would run off with Steven Stearns. That was her concern. She wasn't as upset about um, it didn't seem to be as upset about the essay of her daughter or the death of her daughter as she was about the fact that Steven Stearns cheated on her. I found myself completely mind blown by that one. I was just sitting there and I was watching Nancy Grace and I was listening because she kept bringing it up in this thing I was watching today. She just kept bringing it up over and over and over. Like, can you believe that this is where she's at? So it, and in quotations it said, very sick, predatory men seek out single women with kids and get closer to them. The mother's job is to protect the children. Yes, I first of all, I know that. Um, I know that's a thing that they do seek out women with children, with little girls or teenage girls, so they can get closer to the little girls. They date the mother so they can be with the daughter, which is horrible and disgusting in so many ways. But it's the mother's job to be on the lookout. And she told the police, I thought I was watching her like a hawk. No, girl, you weren't watching her like a hawk. No, girl, you were not. You were letting them sleep alone and you were going to sleep in another bed so you could get a good night's rest. Bullshit. I call bullshit. I call bullshit on this. Absolutely. So there was, and I'm constantly drinking water because I think I'm coming down with a cold. My throat's kind of scratchy and yucky. Um, but excuse me, I'm sorry. Oh yeah, that's the mother's job to watch them like a hawk. It's the mother's job. If your child comes to you and tells you something, even if you don't want to believe it's true, or even if you don't not sure, you still absolutely, you still go and check on that. You talk, if your kid comes to you with something, you ask them about it. I do. I found that very bizarre. She allowed them to sleep alone together. I would. I was talking about this case to my children, and I have a daughter and a son. And my daughter is 28, my son is 24. But I was talking about this to both my children one night, and I said, at any time, had your at any time, I would have never allowed either of you children to sleep in bed between us, let alone get up and leave the room and let y'all have the room together. So that's why I have a hard time believing that she didn't know, that she was oblivious to it. You can't, even if you don't think, even if you don't think that man will do that to your child, you still don't give him the opportunity. You don't hand him your children. You don't do that. That's your child. So I find it hard to believe that she was completely oblivious for all those years. I find it even more hard to believe simply because she would let them sleep. She would let Madeline sleep between them. But if she couldn't get rest, she would go and sleep somewhere else, let them have the bedroom, give them their privacy. That took a lot. There was a lot of anger there in that. You don't do that. You don't do that. And then, like I said, who knows if he manipulated her mentally somehow into allowing that? I really can't see it. But okay, that's a very interesting point, and I'm actually glad you brought it up. I can see it in the beginning being a manipulation thing, because men are not, I don't want to put on all men, narcissists or predators or whatever he is classified as, because they're both good at manipulation. They're both good, whether you're a sexual predator or you're a narcissist like Chris Watts. I believe Chris Watts is. No matter which way you go, they're both very good at manipulation. Um, and maybe in the beginning, mm, the manipulation would work, but I would think after a period of time, you would see some changes in your child's behavior. And I would think that the changes in the behavior would make you ask questions like, hun, are you all right? I'll give you an example. I will give you an example. I will use my own life about this. When my oldest was 16 or 17 and she was trying to learn how to drive, my husband at the time, her stepfather, wanted to take her out in the truck and drive with her. Now, nothing happened, so let's not even go there. But first of all, I wasn't completely comfortable with it, because even though he was my husband and he'd been with us for a couple of years, or we'd been with him for a couple of years, when I asked to go along, he was kind of, he didn't tell me no. And if I would have put my foot down, I could have gone there, or it wouldn't have happened. And the immediate thought was, okay, whatever. So they took her out on a drive. But when they were, after about 30 minutes of them being gone, and I didn't think they'd be gone very long, I called. She didn't have a cell phone at the time. I called my husband's cell phone and I said, "How is she doing on her driving?" And he said, "Oh, we're doing great. We're doing great. We're having a good time." I said, "Oh, that's nice." I said, "Can I speak to her?" And like I said, nothing happened and nothing really was said, but I was wanting to talk to her. I wanted to hear her voice. I wanted to hear her tone. And it turns out I was being overly suspicious, I guess. Um, but and I'm glad I was. Maybe I was being overprotective, but I got her on the phone and I asked her, I said, "How you doing? How you enjoying your drive?" And she said, "Oh, we're okay." Her tone didn't sound 100% accurate on that, but she was like, "We're okay." I said, "Okay." So I said, "Y'all coming back soon?" And she was like, "No, I think." So I said, "Go ahead and put him back on." So I put him back on the phone and I said, "It's getting kind of late. She's got school in the morning." I said, "I need you to bring her home." So he did. No arguments, no complaints. But the very next day, I talked to her about it again, and she said, "No, we were fine. Nothing happened." I said, "Okay." I said, "But if anything," I said, "this goes not just for your stepdad, but for anyone, at any time, anybody says anything or does anything that makes you uncomfortable, you come to me and you tell me. You don't be afraid. Don't think I won't believe you. Don't think I won't trust you. You come to mom and you talk to mom about it. I want you to always know that you can come to me with anything." And she still can and still does. And she's 28 and still comes to me. My whole point to what I was saying was, if Jen Soto had been more involved in Madeline's life, the tragedy that came out of that might not have happened. And I guess was my point. Now, like I said, I was being overprotective, which is fine. Um, but I did. I talked to her and I said, so I asked her again too. I said, everything went fine last night? She goes, "No, mom, you're being weird." I said, "Okay, fine." But it's the mother's job. And so, you know, that was my point to bringing up my story, is maybe I was being a little bit overprotective. Um, but that's why I had that talk with her the very next day. Like, if you ever are around anyone, any man, any woman, any person, anybody, teacher, cousin, uncle, whatever, that makes you feel uncomfortable at any time, you come tell me and we'll fix it. Mom will fix it. So, um, and I feel like she would, especially after that talk. So that's not really a thing, but that's my point with Jen Soto. I really feel like, had she been more involved in her daughter's life and let her know, "Hey, it's okay. You can tell me anything." But she wasn't that mom. And we know now that she wasn't that mom, because her biggest concern was that her daughter would grow up and run away with Steven Stearns. That was her concern. Was a Woody Allen situation. That was her concern. She wasn't worried about the sex stuff. She was a little bothered by the murder, but she was more bothered by the fact, apparently, and this is based on the interview, a police interview that Nancy Grace kept showing clips of over and over. Yes, she used the terms. She used the term, I was very worried about this becoming a Woody Allen situation. And then she goes on to explain, I wouldn't want my, I could, she goes, "I even told Stephen once, I could not handle it if you took my daughter and you and her ran away together. I couldn't handle it if you treated me that way." My thought was, are you fucking kidding me? Your concern was whether or not your daughter runs off with your boyfriend when she's old enough? That was what that's what you're concerned about? You're concerned about that? You're not concerned about the sex stuff. You just don't want him to run off with her? Yeah, she said that. That was a clip. If you go on YouTube and you go to type in Nancy Grace, um, yeah. So if you go to YouTube and you go into the search bar and you type in Nancy Grace, Jen Soto, or Madeline Soto, it'll pull up the video that I saw today. I'm almost guaranteed to pull it up, and you can watch that same thing yourself. It'll pull it. That's how I found out about it today. Like I said, I was scrolling on YouTube, channel surfing, if you will, uh, TV remote out and channel surfing on YouTube as one does. Especially when I'm looking for things like I'm looking for articles to talk about on Friday Night Lives, because while my Wednesdays are Watch Wednesdays, my Friday nights are just kind of whatever case comes to mind. So I've already covered the first case I was going to talk about. I've covered the Jen Soto thing. Third case. And yes, I agree. She must have suspected something already if she said that to him. That is absolutely nutty. That's not nutty. Not just nutty. It's gross. It's disgusting. It's vile. It's horrible. If I suspected it, I would have already taken care of the problem. I wouldn't be worried about my daughter running off with my man. I'd be worried about my man hurting my daughter. Like I said, this was just a simple thing that I'm kind of was being overprotective. But I had that conversation with her. Yeah, he'd been out the door. If I even suspected it, or had, like that night I was talking to you about my daughter, had she said even if he hadn't touched her, even if he had just said something to her that made her feel weird, he'd have been out the door. We'd have been figuring out our money situation. We'd have figured out how to survive, and that we would have been out the door. I took a lot from him, but I didn't let the kids take anything. I didn't let him bother the kids at all. I took a lot of abuse and crap, but I didn't let him hurt the kids. I didn't let them go near the kids. Matter of fact, I would try to keep the fighting to a minimum if I thought they were going to be home. But that was a whole different thing. But as far as the other stuff, you bet. If either one of my kids had come to me and said anything, or if I even suspected it and I had that conversation, you bet. So yeah, that was the thing. I recommend that you go into YouTube, you go search up Nancy Grace, Madeline Soto or Jen Soto, and I'm sure you'll find it. And she plays the clip of the police interview. She has a news reporter or something that she talks to. She had a FBI behavioral person on her show that she talked to about this kind of stuff. This was like a 45-minute video. This was a pretty long video. I'm all scratchy. So yeah, go find it. Well, it turns my stomach too, and I haven't done that much with this case. One, because everybody has covered it. And number two, with Steven Stearns being in jail, and I don't remember his court dates come up or not. Or if he's already had a court date or he's got one coming up. But I just don't cover it very much. I will admit I don't either. But when I saw the Nancy Grace thing and it said Madeline Soto, I thought, wait a minute, hold on. This must be something new. There must be something new for her to be talking about it. And I'm not a fan of Nancy Grace. I'm not a fan of hers at all. She irritates me because she talks down to people. She's high and mighty, so I don't like her per se. I don't think he'll ever get out of prison either. I don't think he will. But like I said, that's kind of, as I was channel surfing, that's how I bumped into that. And then I bumped into a third story today. I had a busy day. And this is the old story. This is Sebastian Rogers and Chris Proudfoot and his mom. What was the mom's name? Chris Proudfoot. And the reason why I can remember Chris's name is because he's still doing YouTube stuff. He's still being he's still on panels and stuff. So his name is easy for me to remember. Sebastian Rogers, his stepdad, Chris Proudfoot. What was the mom's name? Anyhow, if anybody remembers it, you can type it out, read whatever. You know what Kate is talking about. So Sebastian Rogers, everybody knows, been missing for a very long time. He's never been found. Okay. Well, this was a video put out by Deception Detective. I don't know how many people watching me watch him. I know a lot of people do. But Deception Detective had a video out today about the Sebastian Rogers case. And this is what he said. He was talking about the differences between parents that unalive their children and parents where the children come up missing and the body never gets found. But he was talking about the differences in some of the cases. And he said there are some cases where I can watch them and I'm pretty sure the parents did it. And in this case, this is what he said. And this is another one I suggest people go watch. Just type in deception detective, type in Sebastian Rogers, and then it will be the most recent one. Like I think, excuse me, I think it came out today. Like so, it won't be very old. But what he said that caught my attention on that one was he was talking about how some families, he thinks did it and some families didn't. But not the point exactly. What he said about them, he said, I don't think, that's just his professional opinion. He said, I don't think they killed Sebastian. He said, do I think that they abused him? Yes. Do I think the abuse was so bad that he ran away from home? Yes. He said, but I don't think they killed him. I think he ran away from home and they're not looking for him. They're glad he ran away from home. They're very content that he ran away from home, and they're probably hoping he never comes back. That was his wording. Now and when I say something like that, that's not ever word for word. That's not his exact wording. That's me hearing it and my brain putting it back out in my words. So that's why I always tell people, go watch it in case I forget something, I missed something, I misunderstood something. Because half the time when I'm watching these, I can't make heads or tails about the Sebastian Rogers case. He said himself he didn't think they killed him. That was one thing I'm positive he said. He also said himself that he thinks they abused him. He thinks that Sebastian Rogers ran away from home. He just doesn't think they're looking for him. Now, again, that's one of those things I recommend people go watch the video themselves because I was channel surfing. I found it by accident, more or less. And thought I would and I subscribed to Deception Detective, so it popped up on my thing on my home. But so I went ahead and watched it. But the Nancy Grace thing with Madeline Soto, that one bothered me the most today because she was more worried about her kid running off with her boyfriend. Yeah, Deception Detective is, I think, if I remember right, he's an attorney, but his specialty is knowing when people are lying. Like that seems to be his thing. And you can do people. I strongly recommend anybody that watches my channel, unless I'm reading something word for word or I'm playing a video clip, I strongly recommend people go find the information I'm talking about and go watch it, read it themselves. Because a lot of times I'm talking to you off my memory because I'm not a smart enough YouTuber to make notes. Or not smart, too lazy, whatever, to make notes. But a lot of times I'll watch something like this and then I'll remember the bulk of it, or I'll remember a highlight and then I'll talk about it later. So I always recommend go find the original information, go watch it yourselves. In case I forgot, I misunderstood, I misheard. I don't mean to misdirect people, and shit happens, So I do recommend if you want to know more about it. But the Madeline Soto thing really bothered me today. And like I said, poor Nancy Grace kept flipping out over it. And I get it. As much as I don't like her, I get it. And one of the reasons I don't like her is there are times when I've watched her and she doesn't have her facts straight. And that's supposed to be her job. On top of being a trial lawyer, she's supposed to be an investigative journalist. I think. But I know she used to be a trial attorney. She used to be a trial attorney, or still is. I don't think she practices anymore, but whatever. But the reason why I get upset with her is I was watching Okay, on Friday nights when I'm on here, I usually talk about a case called the Lady Bird Lake mysteries, is what I call them. And that's because 16 people over the last 2.5 years have turned up dead, accidental death in Lady Bird Lake here in Austin, Texas. That's just a lot of people in 2.5 years. And most of those people are men. So I've been talking about that case a lot because it's still a open. Well, okay. The police in Austin, Texas are saying that they're all but a couple of them are accidental deaths. I don't buy it. I've been talking about that case a lot on Friday night, but I was watching it on Nancy Grace the other day. She did something about it, or I don't remember when she did it. I don't remember how many days or months ago it came out, but she was talking about the Lady Bird Lake, and it was fairly recent. Like her time span was fairly recent. And she said something about 8 people, and I'm like, no, girl, it ain't 8, it's 16. Oh, honey, that's all right. I'm just glad you're here. Have you have missed most of it, because I started at 9. But you haven't missed anything in particular. I'm not doing the Lady Bird Lake stuff tonight. I was just explaining it to Ashley though, in case she hasn't watched my Friday nights. I was explaining that's what I usually talk about. Um, I also talked about where I started out with a case of Brian Cohey that happened in 2021, because I don't remember this case. I talked about a case of this guy named Brian Cohey, this 19-year-old, that had a severed head in his bedroom. His parents found a severed head in his bedroom because he killed a homeless man because he thought it would be fun. So I was talking about that case a little bit. I'm just catching you up a little bit, darling. So I talked about that case first, and then we talked about some news, or maybe not new stuff I've never heard before about Jen Soto, Nancy Grace thing that popped up today in my um, YouTube feeds. Nancy Grace was talking about something Jen Soto said, and we found it mind blowing here about the Woody Allen thing. About Jen Soto was worried about it being a Woody Allen thing, or did you hear about the first case? I heard about that. Just awful. Was that the first case or the Jen Soto thing? I'll wait while you type. I'll sit here and dance. I got music in the background. I always have my music on in the background. Oh, okay. Um, yeah, the thing with Nancy Grace and Jen Soto, she was talking about in Jen Soto's interview. Jen Soto was worried about it being a Woody Allen thing, that Woody Allen, that Steven Stearns and her daughter would run off and get married or something. She was more upset about the fact that Steven cheated on her. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? And then we talked very briefly about Sebastian Rogers, because Deception Detective had a video about that today too. He was talking about how um, in his opinion, the Jen Soto thing is absolutely horrible. Jen Soto herself is horrible. The whole case is horrible. I was talking to Ashley, or her and I were talking earlier about how God, I've lost my complete train of thought. I do that every once in a while. I try not to though. Um, about how when you are in a situation where you have children, daughters in the house, and you and I've had our conversations about this already. Um, maybe in the beginning, Jen didn't know anything about it, and maybe there was some manipulation to get him to sleep alone. But at some point, you got to start. I think that for most mothers, and again, like I said, I know you and I've had our own discussions. As a mother, I feel like at some point you start seeing behaviors in your daughter that aren't right. They're not normal. And that's when you start talking to them and saying, hey, what's up? Why are you behaving in the way that you're behaving? I gave an example of that when I was talking about my ex-husband and my daughter. And it turned out that I was being overprotective, but I would rather be overprotective than not protective enough. But when you're talking about children's behaviors, I can give you another example of that. My daughter was in middle school. Yeah, I do too, and that's what we were talking about. But paying attention to children's behaviors. I said, so at some point, you're watching your children's behavior and you start asking questions, and I'll give you what I mean. I knew that my daughter was getting bullied at school, and I tried talking to her about it. And she didn't want to talk to me about it. She felt like she could handle it on her own. Okay. That, and I'm not a helicopter mom. I'm a tiger mom. I pounce. I pounce. But so she didn't like to talk to me a lot about the problems she was having with other kids. She wanted to handle her problems herself. But one day I'm at home and my daughter's at school, and the school nurse called. And she said, I need to talk to you about your daughter for a minute. And I'm like, okay. She said, every day, same time every day, she goes into one of the bathrooms out here, and she throws up. She's going in, but she's not throwing up like because she's sick. Oh yeah, I would too. Sam would like to be a fly on the wall for that one, because I'm sure he was just a manipulating scumbag. But by the same token, Jen Soto should have paid more attention to her daughter and her daughter's behavior. So, like I was saying, so with my own daughter, she said, I don't think she's throwing up because she's sick. I think she's forcing herself to throw up. And I went, excuse me? And she said, I think she's forcing herself to throw up, trying to get out of class, a certain class. So I waited till my daughter got home that day, and I said, so how was school today? And she's like, oh, it was okay. I said, how you been feeling lately? And she said, oh, I've been feeling fine. Why? And I called her by name, and I said, Alyssa, I said, if there's something going on, you need to talk to Mom. I said, because I'm really worried about you. And she said, I don't know why you'd be worried about me. I'm fine. And this is not a behavior I could have watched. But I did let her know. We did have a long talk about her getting sick at school. And I asked her if she was being bullied. Now, my daughter at the time was, because of her height, she was too big for little kids' clothes. She was too tall. But she was too thin for adult clothes. We used to take her into the junior section and buy her a size 0. Okay. Alyssa was very, very, very thin. Very thin. Always had been very thin. And I don't know why this particular girl was picking on her, but this girl found the tiniest, skinniest, frail girl in school and started picking on her and calling her fat. I got to tell you, like I just said, Alyssa's not fat. Alyssa's not fat by any definition. She wore a size 0 in the junior department. Alyssa, when she bent over, you could see her spine. We were always trying to get her to eat. But this girl was picking on her, calling her fat, so she was throwing up after lunch so she wouldn't be fat. But after I had that talk with her, And I had to talk with the counselor, and I had to talk with the nurse, and I had to talk with the teacher. Once we all kind of joined forces, let's just stop getting sick in class. It did end it. So I finally talked to her. I said, look, honey, I don't know what's going on because you haven't talked to me about it. And this was before I found out it was a girl at school picking on her, calling her bad. She wasn't bad. But I'm like, if you keep making yourself sick like this, as skinny as you already are, you're going to end up in the hospital. And I said, Mom's not trying to frighten you, but I am trying to make you understand that this is not the way to handle this. So I'm just referring to behaviors. When you see, and when I look back and I think about her behavior at home, she was doing things at home that weren't her normal behavior. But that's what led me to be more aware of situations in school, behaviors at home. That's when I started making myself more aware. Like I was really watching her, and I was trying to make myself more aware of her behavior. So, yeah, she was a size 0, and some girl kept calling her fat and ugly. And she wore glasses. She was a skinny little girl. And yeah, I showed you that picture of her last week. She's a beautiful young woman. She was a pretty little girl, in my opinion, but I'm mom, so I'm a little bit biased. But she's a beautiful young woman now, and she's 28, and she's probably a size 14, which is compared to a size 0 is heavy, but compared to the average size is not. I think that is about average, like across the states, like nationally, that's like an average size now, 14, 16. But the point is I had, when I thought about it after talking to the nurse and the counselors, I do remember certain behaviors that she was doing at home. And it made me start being more aware of children's behavior. And that's what I was saying about Jen Soto. You've got to be more aware of, I really wish Jen Soto had been more aware or cared or whatever she needed to do of her child's behavior. She's worrying about whether or not Stephen Stearns was going to run away and marry her daughter instead of being upset because Stephen Stearns cheated on her. She should have been more worried about her daughter. And had she been watching, and even if she didn't know for an absolute fact, even if she didn't know that Stephen was doing stuff to her daughter, or Stephen, excuse me, she didn't know he was doing stuff to her daughter. If she'd have been more aware of her daughter's change in behavior, she might have been more. She might have been able to prevent this. But not only did she not be aware, she was more aware about the fact she was being cheated on. But that's all we talked about tonight. She was more jealous of Stern than she was. Yeah, exactly. You put it in terms way better than I did. You took my thoughts and you just shortened it into a sentence, which I'm not good at, obviously. But I'm sorry. I think I'm trying to come down with the cold. I said this earlier. My throat's scratchy and stuff. Yeah, she was more jealous over Stern than she was more protective. You're absolutely 100% right. That's a wonderful way of putting it. That's a great way of putting it. That explains a lot, actually. I was like, and I don't like Nancy Grace because Nancy Grace messes up shit. She said it seems to me she was okay with you. Well, I kind of got that impression too when I was listening to that clip. This is the one on Nancy Grace today. That she said, well, I something about, she didn't say okay with the sex stuff, but The okay was not the word she used, but that's basically what she was saying was that she was okay with that. She was more worried about the evil stuff. She didn't want him to do something evil, and she was more worried about being in a Woody Allen situation where Woody Allen ran off with Mia Farrow's daughter, married. Yeah. She just, yeah, it was okay. Well, okay. But on the other hand, if you're worried about being okay, thank you. That's a good point. But here, hold on. Let me back up because now I'm losing my mind. Okay, so if you are, let's just take this from the perspective of she doesn't want to be cheated on. Okay. So if you're not worried about your daughter being sexually abused, I would think you would put a stop to it, if only because you didn't want to be cheated on. I'm not saying that what she did was right. What I'm saying is if we take it and we look at it from Jen Soto's point of view or Jen Soto's argument or whatever you want to call it, if you look at it from Jen Soto's point of view, yeah, and I'm saying the abuse wasn't evil. That's it. That's your wording is always so much better. I don't know why you don't do your own YouTube. Your wording is better. I tend to ramble. You're more precise. But if you take it from the part where she said she was more worried about being cheated on, okay. So since she wasn't worried about the kids, yeah, that's right, she did. I remember that part now. Nancy Grace didn't talk about that. I was talking about this thing I watched today, Nancy Grace, a YouTube clip, like a 45-minute long Nancy Grace clip, where she was talking about Jen Soto being more worried about being cheated on. And because Nancy Grace was losing her shit. And I don't like Nancy Grace. As I said before, she gets her facts wrong on a lot of stuff. She doesn't think she does. But like on the Lady Bird Lake thing, she said 8 and it was 16. And this was a recent thing she did Lady Bird Lake on. But anyhow, no. So let's take it from Jen Soto's perspective. All right, so she's not worried. She's okay with the sexual abuse. I don't get by why. I don't get by why. Blah, blah, blah. I don't get why anybody would be okay with that. But this is what Jen Soto basically said. So let's take it from that perspective. If she's okay about the sexual abuse but doesn't want to be cheated on, at the very least, she is. That's one of the reasons I don't like Nancy Grace. If you take it from that perspective of the not wanting to be cheated on, you would think that she would have not let them sleep alone for fear of being cheated on. Even if you take it from that perspective, you would think she still would have put a stop to it. You would think she still would have put a stop to it. Well, I don't want my man to cheat on me, so why would I let him sleep with my daughter? Jen Soto is something. Jen Soto drives me nuts. And like I said, I'm not a big fan of Nancy Grace. She had a video come out, I don't know, probably a couple months ago, maybe 4 months ago, about the Lady Bird Lake things. And she said there was 8 victims and there's been 16. And I turned it off in that moment. I turned it off in that moment because I was like, you don't even have your facts straight. And yet you're going to sit here and talk about something and you don't even know what you're talking about. So I was kind of done then. I just don't like Nancy Grace. And back to what you were saying in response to my words, yeah, it makes no sense. So even if you're okay with the abuse, which I can't imagine any mom being okay with the abuse, even if you're okay with the SA, but you're worried about being cheated on, then don't let him sleep with your daughter. That's simple. Don't let that man get his hand on your child. I put up with a lot of crap from my ex. And I've talked about some of it. But if I'd have believed for 1 minute that he was touching my children, I would have figured something out a lot quicker than I did. I put up with it for as long as I did, trying to get my kids graduated from high school and moved out on their own, and then I was going to figure out my own life because I didn't want, since it was just me going through the abuse, I was okay with that in the sense of he wasn't hurting my kids. So I was willing to put up with it so they would have a roof over their head, they would have a way to get back and forth to school, they would have hot meals, they would be taken care of. But that would have changed. The moment I thought he was hurting them, then that would have all changed. We would have been in a homeless shelter. And that would have been that. Um, but in the meantime, because I was the only one being abused, I put up with the abuse until I could get them out on their own and then figure out how to get out on my own. And that's what I did. I just simply put up with his narcissistic shit because I was trying to make sure that my kids had a roof over their head. They had food to eat. They had transportation. They had a way back and forth to school. They had everything they needed. They had clothes on their back. I was doing that for them. As weird as that might sound to people who have not been in that spot, I was doing that for them. I was putting up with his bullshit and his crap so that they had all their necessities met. To me, in my mind at the time, the abuse was worth it to get them taken care of. Because once he moved me out of Missouri, once he moved me from Texas, once he isolated me from my friends and my family, and I had no way to take, would not let me have a car, would not let me work a job, would not let me do anything. As I've discussed before in the beginning, that sounded great. Once I realized how bad it was, I was already in there about 8 years. But because it didn't start out bad, gradually got bad. But whatever. If the situation had been different and had he been bothering my kids, we'd have figured it out. We'd have been out of there a lot fucking faster. Even if it meant a homeless shelter, we'd have been out of there a lot faster. But it was just me that was taking the abuse, and I knew I could handle it. I knew it would bounce off me and I'd be okay. So you don't let your kids take that kind of abuse. You protect the children. You protect the children at all costs. You put your kids above you. And by doing some of the things I did see it as putting my kids above me. It's just my personal opinion. I feel like I put my kids above me. I took it so they would have everything they needed. But no, Jen Soto, and you're right. I'm glad you brought that up about calling a lawyer. Right after she saw the picture of him abusing Maddie, she told Stern's dad to go get. Oh, and here's something else Nancy Grace pointed out, and I don't know if this is true or not because, like I just said, she gets her shit confused sometimes. Nancy Grace had said something about Stephen Stern's dad had been law enforcement. So I don't know if that's true or not, but she said Stephen Stern's dad had been law enforcement, and you could hear him when he's talking to Stephen in a prison phone call. You can hear him smelling the bullshit, as she put it, because he'd been in law enforcement. I don't know if that's part true or not. I have no idea. But yeah, I recommended to people they go watch Deception Detective thing that he put out today about Sebastian Rogers. I suggest they go watch, even if you don't like Nancy Grace, because they don't like it either. She had one put out today about Jen Soto or Madeline Soto. So go to YouTube search, put in Nancy Grace, Jen Soto. It'll pull it up. It'll pull up the clip that everybody that I'm talking about. But you feel like Darlene, you already know what clip. So, and I haven't covered this case very much. I've tried a few times. It's one of those cases that it makes me sick at my stomach and it makes me angry. I'm not saying that Chris Watts' case doesn't make me angry, because it does. And I kind of want to apologize for Wednesday while I'm on the subject, because I had a lot I wanted to say about the comparison or the assumption of him being a narcissist and the way he treated Shanann. because they are just assumptions because we didn't see him do it. And I had a lot I wanted to talk about. And because I had rambled so long or got stuck on certain topics, it got to be too long. And I didn't get to cover everything I wanted to cover. And that's the problem with me not putting it down on notes and then going off my notes. I probably should go off my notes. Um, but that's kind of an apology for Wednesday. I did like to pat myself on the back. I did like the idea of approaching the case from the perspective of Chris being a narcissist. Um, I think that's an interesting perspective. And I think had I prepared myself a little better, I think it would have turned out better. But for the people that watched it and participated, including you, I want to apologize because I wanted to cover more on what I covered Wednesday night. I wanted to cover more, and I didn't. So I apologize. But I like my perspective. I like my idea. I like where I intended it to go. But because I do tend to ramble when I get upset or angry or excited, um, I didn't take it in the direction it should have gone. No, not completely. Well, thank you for letting me know. Hidden True Crime, I'll have to look that up. That is not somebody I follow at this point, but it is somebody worth checking out. So thank you. But I think that pretty much wraps up tonight. Like I said, I had 3 cases I wanted to cover. Brian Cohey, which, honest to God, I don't remember that case happening. I don't remember hearing anything about that in 2021. But it's 2025 now, and I'm 60, so I don't know. Maybe I heard about it and just don't remember it. So I covered that one. I covered the Madeline Soto, Jen Soto thing, and I covered Sebastian, and of course I've rambled again. I'm bad about that, but I'll admit it. And I probably should stop rambling because my throat is killing me. My throat has gone from scratchy to hurt. So, with that being said, I do think I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I will be back Wednesday with the beginning story of Shanann Rooschek. And if I'm not saying that right, somebody spell it out for me. Like, spell it out the way it's supposed to be, the way I'm supposed to say it, phonetically or whatever the word is I'm looking for. Somebody spell that out for me. Great. So I would love to, because don't want to say her name wrong through an entire 1 hour or 2 hour video where I'm going to do Wednesday. So we are going to start. I'm going to go back to Shanann before Chris. I'm not sure how far back I'm going to go before Chris, but we're going to go back to Shanann before Chris. And yeah, if somebody could spell that out for me phonetically so that I can pronounce her maiden name correctly, Shanann Rooschek. I think I'm close, but I know I'm not right. But in the meantime, I'm going to get off here. I'm going to take care of my throat because it's really starting to hurt. It was scratchy, now it hurts, and I'm starting to feel stuffy. I can hear it. So I'm going to take care of myself. Oh, God, I sound like a kid. I want a cookie and a story. I want a cookie and a story. A puppy. But that's how I'm starting to feel. I don't want to be sick. There are things to do. I'm fine. I'm good. Yeah. Wednesday will be Watts Wednesday as usual. Rooschek. That's, yeah, I might be close. I will drink some warm tea with honey lemon. I happen to have some chamomile tea in my cupboard that I tend to put honey and lemon in. I might put a little Southern Comfort in it. Turn it into a hot toddy. and knock my ass out. But um, yeah, I feel scratchy. Been drinking water all evening. But big baby, I can't drink plain water. I'm drinking canned water because it's flavored slightly. But y'all, thank you for stopping in. Thank you for participating. I love it. It makes me, when I'm doing a live and people participate, it makes my day. Like, you have no idea. Even if it's just you pop in and say hi, it makes my day. Because I can sit and do this for hours, but that's the problem, is I'll sit and ramble about everything and anything. I might do a Q&A one night where we just kind of sit around and talk. I'd be good at that too. But anyway, if it's your birthday, happy birthday. Thank you. Thank you, Sprinkle Donut. I try. I am trying. Ladies, I'm telling you, I'm trying. Um, I did have a trial of StreamYard, and I have the money to pay for it, but I don't have the card because I had a charge on my card that wasn't correct, and I'm waiting for the bank to send me a new card. So the new card comes in, I can update it, and I can pay my StreamYard. Thank you, Sprinkle Donut. But I would like to be able to show video clips and do other things everybody else does. I would eventually like a better computer and editing software and all that fun shit. Maybe Santa will be nice to me next year if I'm a good girl. But if it's your birthday, happy birthday. If it's your anniversary, happy anniversary. If you had one past or one coming up, you know the drill. Well, 19th of next month. Well, Darlene, what good is that going to do me tonight? Maybe my birthday is the 30th of May, but that isn't going to help me tonight. But if it's your birthday or an anniversary, you got one coming for Wednesday. Happy birthday, happy anniversary. If I've missed it, I'm sorry. Um, happy early birthday. Yes, happy early birthday, Darlene. Uh, that was what she was doing. I know. And I decided to give her shit for it. But be kind to each other. Um, oh, another quick note, real quick. I'm not trying to say anything that's going to be divisive, but this is on my mind because I started to bring up be kind to each other. I've seen some things, and I don't think anybody that watches me would be this way. I don't think any of you would. But I've seen some things come up about the people in the California fires and about how they don't deserve help because they're rich and they can afford to buy new houses. Well, first of all, not everybody hit in the California fires. It's not rich. Most of them are. Most of them are. But even if you're rich and your house just burnt down and you can afford more houses, these people are losing trinkets and things, memories and stuff. So I want to bring that up again because they're getting some control over it. But if you know anybody, my heart prayers go out to everybody. If you find a reliable source and you can afford to donate diapers, food, whatever, money, furniture, pass the word along. Because while I realize these are, as some people put it, the elites, not everybody that lives there is wealthy. And these people are losing things. Exactly. It costs $0 to be kind. So if nothing else, keep these people in your prayers. Be kind. As I always say at the end of every video, be kind to yourselves and be kind to each other. It is a tough world out there. So just be kind. That's an excellent point. It costs $0 to be kind. Exactly. Be kind. I'm so frustrated with some of the comments about, well, they're wealthy, they can afford another house. It's not about the house. Jesus Christ, people are losing not just their homes, but they're losing trinkets and memorabilia from their kids. And just, anyway, y'all get the point. I'm going to shut up on that one. And do all the nice things for me if you love me. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe, ring the little bell. That way you know when I'm getting ready to get on here and be stupid. Ring the little bell. Do all the nice things. There before the grace of God go I remember that. There you go. Just be kind to people. It costs nothing, like Darlene said, or like you're saying. It costs nothing to be nice to other people. A little kind. And I feel like a little kindness can go a long way. I got told I was garbage. Well, since you said that and you brought it up that way, I know it wasn't me. I would never say that to people. I do have friends and family that voted differently than I did. And I had a few subjects that I was wound up about. But I never stopped loving anybody. And like I said, I don't think you're referring to me. I never stopped loving anybody. And I don't believe you're a bad person. I'm not a bad person. We have some different values. All of us do. And this kind of goes out to everybody. We have different values and different thoughts, but that doesn't make us bad people. And I am sorry that happened to you. I hope that you found it in your heart to forgive. I was, like I said, my particular case, I was angry about some of the things, not the person, but some of the things said. But I would never, ever, 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 ever treat anybody badly. Here's something that people need to remember: you can be angry with each other, friends and family, because I consider some of you my friends. You can be angry with friends and family, and you might even say things at times. Right. You can be angry and you can be passionate about things that other people aren't passionate about, and they may not see your side in the moment. But if you really care about each other, you will try to watch what you say, because I'm obviously not always good at that. I try to be careful. I don't always succeed, but I try. And I think we can learn, if we can learn how to not be so cruel. Because I don't ever try to be cruel. I don't try to be cruel. I might say things that I don't agree with, but I don't mean to be cruel. But what my point was getting ready to be was, I think we can do that. I think we need to watch what we're saying. And that includes myself. I try not to pick directly. Like an example is, if I don't agree with somebody's video, I don't pick on the person. I just point out the parts of the video I didn't agree with. But I try not to pick on people. So I guess that goes with my thing that I say every time I close, is be kind to yourselves. Be kind to each other. It doesn't cost anything to be kind. It costs nothing. It's free. And I love everybody that shows up. I love everybody that subscribes. I love everybody that watches it later. I love my family on here, Mama's family. Right. It is okay to listen to other people's points. It is perfectly okay to listen to, and you do. I have changed my mind on some things that I have had hills that I'm going to die on. I've listened to someone else's perspective or their evidence or whatever, and I'm going, well, now wait a minute. Maybe I am wrong. And I know you all have heard me do that in live streams or in videos. I've gone, no, wait a minute. I might be wrong here. So you're first of all, to your point, it is okay to listen to other people's points. and you'll be okay. And no one's ever going to agree with someone. That's what makes us unique. Exactly. And and this goes out to Kelly and her channel, while I don't agree with all her points, and I've been vocal about it, I've never had a problem that I've aimed directly at her. Um, I've had her come back at me directly, which I wasn't happy with, but that doesn't mean that I dislike her for that. She attacked me on a personal level over one of my videos. Told me I was stupid. She told me I was stupid and thoughtless, and that I was a liar. And I'm not any of those things. Matter of fact, the only thing I ever said was I didn't agree with the family dynamics thing, and blah 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 blah. And I went and explained why I didn't agree with it, and so on and so on. But this goes out to everybody. Yeah, I've never called her out personally as a person, so I felt kind of upset that she called me a liar, told me I was lazy and liar and something else, irresponsible. And I'm like, no, I'm not being irresponsible. I'm giving my opinion. My opinion is my opinion. In my opinion, the family dynamics didn't play that big of a role, but whatever. I'm not trying to rehash it. I'm just trying to read what you're saying, then I'm trying to put it in perspective from the things that y'all have seen me do. You all have seen me say things on here that some of it I wish I could take back, and some of it I'm glad I said it. Most of it I'm glad I said. Very little I want to take back. Uh, Most of it I would not take back because that's just my opinion, and that's how I felt about it. But as I've been doing these live streams and the videos, I'm learning more about myself. I'm learning more about the people around me, and I'm learning more how to do things. I'm learning better. Oh, she did. When I made the video about the family dynamics, I didn't call her out as a person. Everybody watched that knows damn good and well I did not call her out as a person. I absolutely did not call her out as a person. All I said was I don't agree with her. All I said was I don't agree with the family dynamics thing, and this is why. I went on to explain why. I said because in a sense, when you're blaming it on family dynamics, whether you mean to or not, you're implying that she had something to do with her own death. Okay, that's all I said, and I stand by that still. She left me like a 3-paragraph message telling me that I was lazy, I was irresponsible. She said, I used to think you were intelligent and that your opinion was well thought out, but now I've changed my mind. You're apparently stupid. Blah blah blah. And she went on with that for like 3 paragraphs, and I just kind of was like, "That's it. I'm done. I'm done." I still stand by the fact that I don't agree with her theory, but yes, she did. She came at me with paragraphs telling me that I was stupid, lazy, and irresponsible, and that I was a liar. And I said I didn't lie. It was my opinion. It's Your opinion is an opinion. It's not a truth or lie. It's an opinion. That's why it's called that. But yeah, she did. She came at me pretty hard. And I probably could pull it up. In fact, I know I could pull it up on my phone. But I don't want to do that no more. If she does a video and I see it and I don't agree with it, I'm going to say so. Just like if she doesn't agree with mine, she can say so. But I've never attacked her as a person, and she attacked me as a person. And then somebody else came after me and said something about I was stupid and my kids were stupid and this and that and the other and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh my God, now we're talking about my kids. Leave my kids out of this. If you don't like me, that's fine. But I have strayed again from my original point. Going back to being kind. We got to learn how to be kind to each other because it's a hateful world out there. I hate to say it. It is a hateful world out there. And we all got to work on being kind, whether we agree on all things or not. Like we said, we know we don't agree on all things. We're never going to agree on all things, and we shouldn't. We are unique. That's what makes us unique. I can feel it in my nose now. That's what makes us unique. But it does. That's what makes us unique is we have different opinions. My train of thought went again. Because I started out just talking about the California fires because I'm getting really frustrated. People going, well, they don't deserve the help. They, mm, and that might be a difference of opinion. But at the very least, be kind. If you can't help, like you said, Darlene, costs nothing to be kind. At least be kind. These people are losing a lot. These people are losing an absolute ton. I was watching somebody that studies the earth and forestry and all that shit. A scientist talk about it, how it all happened and stuff. How a bunch of things came together, made like one perfect firestorm. I found it interesting, which made me think more about this. But anyway, yeah, everybody's birthday, happy birthday. Um, Anniversaries, all that good stuff. Be kind to each other. Like, share, subscribe, ring the little notification bell. That way you know when I'm getting ready to come on here and say something stupid. Happy early birthday to Darlene. Heaven help me, I won't forget that now. Happy early birthday, Darlene. So then when it actually comes around, you'll have to probably remind me again. But no, happy birthday, everybody. It is. I do feel bad for them. I don't care what their beliefs are. I still feel bad for them. They're still people. They're not just losing property. They're losing all kinds of shit. They're losing pets. I was watching a clip of it, and I was watching somebody, and they were leading their horses away from the fire, like the fire crackling all around them. Horses freaked out easy. Anyway, I was watching whoever owned the horses, I guess, leading, or maybe it was somebody, a firefighter. Thank you. It didn't bother me that much. It pissed me off more than anything. I'm like, all right, well, I didn't come after you personally, but all right, if you feel like you might come after me, that's great. And that's something else I mentioned. I think YouTubers, there's enough content and enough people. We should be working together, not against each other. But I can't get anybody to understand that, I guess. But everybody be kind, be nice. I think what got me was that clip about watching these people lead these horses out of the fire, and I was like, oh dear God, because it ain't just people and things; it's animals, pets. There's just so much going on with that. So big hearts to everyone, and yes, Darlene, I still love you. I know you still love me. I'm a pain in the ass, but I'm still loved. See, that's something else. The clothes on their back. Actually, there's a YouTuber that I watch. You all wouldn't be interested in this type of content. It's mostly gaming and stuff, but I game. Matter of fact, I'm thinking about doing live streams on Twitch because I game. Once I figure out how to do all the live stream stuff, I think about live streaming my games on Twitch. I might even put them on YouTube. But he's a gamer, and he lives in that part of California. And he was on. He made a video talking about what's happened to him, and that his house is safe right now. And everything should be okay. Oh yeah, I know. That's something else that people aren't thinking about when they're, oh well, they don't deserve the help. They're rich. They can afford it. And some of the people that have been hit so hard and have already lost so much have already donated millions of dollars to it. They're trying to help other people rebuild. Jesus. So my throat hurts, and I should have shut up probably a half hour ago. But I just want to let everybody know how much y'all mean to me. Everybody that comes in on Wednesday nights or Friday nights, and especially if you sit through my ramblings, I appreciate it. I do. You're making an old lady happy by listening to her ramblings. And back in my day, when we walked 1,600 miles to school in the snow with our nothing on our feet, no, you're making a rambling old lady happy because I consider ramble about true crime and, as you see, news, political, whatever it is. I can sit and ramble all night long about crap like that. So I appreciate everybody that comes here. And pass this channel on to people that you think might like it. I'm trying to grow. I would like to hit 500. I mean, that doesn't sound like a. People have got 50,000. I'm sitting there going, I would like 500, please. So, yeah, I know that. I know that. I know about that stuff because I follow a lot of the storm chasers that have their channels on YouTube. I keep up on my storm chasers, my gamers, my true crime people, music people. Yep, I keep up there, buddy. So I said I've always got a noggin full of shit to talk about. And it doesn't take nothing to be kind. It costs people nothing. So when I see this hate being flung out, people losing everything in California, I'm like, why are we hating on them? They're celebrities. Yeah, okay. First of all, like I said, not everybody's a celebrity. One particular I'm thinking of is a YouTuber. Now he's a well-paid YouTuber. I'm not even going to argue. I'm not even going to say he's not. And he makes his own movies and he shows them on YouTube. Like he doesn't just game; he makes his own movies, like writes, directs, acts in all his own movies, and he's got a couple movies on YouTube. They're what you call your choose your own adventures, where you can pick what he does next or what happens next in the movie. He does a bunch of those. Lots of people house poor, they're having a big house and no money in the bank. Yeah, that is also valid fact. Thank you for bringing that up as well. There are all people in house poor. I mean, they might be living in Palisade or the hills or wherever, and they've invested all this money in this house, and they have no money of their own, and they're done. They have nothing left. Um, and I watch a lot of the late night talk show hosts, and I watch one of my favorites, Jimmy Kimmel, for what it's worth. And the first night he was on TV, he had tears in his eyes, and he was talking about it, and it just made my little heart break. It did. It made my little heart break. I couldn't take it. I can't handle watching somebody cry. Makes me cry. But yeah, that particular YouTuber I'm talking about, he was talking about how his house is safe right now, but a lot of people around him have lost property, and he said, I don't live in that wealthy of a neighborhood. I can think of 3 or 4 YouTubers that live by him. I don't know any of these people personally, but it made me think it ain't just celebrities, people. It's other people that are house poor or they don't have insurance or whatever. And because of the type of storm this was, there was so much I was watching. Like I said, I was watching that guy talk about it, talk about how it was just between the underbrush and the 60-mile-an-hour winds and the amber that sparked, and it flew 60 miles an hour. It went somewhere else and it lit some underbrush, and it just kept going, and the winds kept getting stronger and the fires just kept spreading. And they, one of those hydrants is only good for so many houses. If you've got 1,000 houses on fire and 2 hydrants or whatever it is, you can't put all that out. It's not even about planning or maintaining. It's about there's a lot of things that happened all at once to make this what it is. Yeah, keeping up with the Joneses, and people shouldn't do that. But I think most of us have been guilty of that in our lives as adults at one time or another. You eventually just learn that you can't keep up with them. To stop trying. I live in a little 2-bedroom apartment down by the beach. I don't have beachfront property. I have a 2-bedroom apartment down by the beach. It's a little place, but it's mine. And everything in here I own. It ain't much, but it all belongs to me. I couldn't replace it though. If a hurricane came through here, or a fire, or a tornado, and Texas is known for its fires, not like California, but Texas is known for its fires. Like half of Bastrop County burnt down a while back. But if a fire or a tornado or a hurricane or anything came through here and took out my apartment, I cannot afford to replace anything in here. There is nothing in here I could replace. Not right away. I mean, I could gradually buy bits and pieces because I saved up and bought all my. I saved for a year and bought all these pieces. Gradually, like I saved a couple $100 and bought the chair, and then I saved another couple, for 100 and bought a table. I was saving money. I was stocking money back to buy this shit. So if something happened to my house, I couldn't replace any of it, or at least not right away. My computer would die. I wouldn't be able to do this anymore. The only thing I would have with me would be this. You're so smart and so good at doing your own research and not. Robin, what'd you say? You are so smart and so good at doing your own research and not believing anything you hear. I need to send you some links. Oh, thank you, I guess. My train of thought left again. Thanks. No, but I love you regardless. I couldn't replace any of this shit, and that's why I'm thinking about these people. They can't. Not everybody can replace this shit. Um, So now that I'm done with my thing that I should have stopped 41 minutes ago, I on subject California. I know you love me, darling, and you're very forgiving, and I am too. Like any other friends and family, we've had our moments, but we're doing okay. Um, I'm still thinking about the California stuff. It's on my mind, and it's probably going to sit like that for a while. Yeah. I love you all too. I think that's where we'll end it tonight. As everybody that comes in here, everybody that stops in, everybody that says hi, everybody that makes a comment, everybody that watches it later, everybody that gives a thumb up. You're all friends and family to me. You're my YouTube family. And I appreciate everybody. I'm just out here doing this because I enjoy doing it, because I'm not making any money doing this shit. I'm doing it because I want to do it. But I like the feedback, which is partly why I started doing lives. So yeah, we'll just end it on that note. I love everybody. I want y'all to be careful. Take care of each other. Be kind. And I think that's where we end the stream tonight. I'll drink some hot tea before I go to bed.